Okay, hello and welcome everyone to the Rainbow Coaching Collective podcast. We are a collective of LGBTQIA plus transformative coaches who are set on empowering members of the community and its allies, one conversation at a time. This week, on our third episode, we are going to be exploring the topic of shame. So let's dive straight in and welcome Rachel. Hi.
Hi, Max.
And welcome, Holly.
Hello.
Good to see you
Hello.
both, as always. Um,
Absolutely.
so, quite a challenging topic, this one. Um, I'm sure it can bring up quite a lot of difficult emotions for us. Um, my first sort of thought on this is what do we actually mean by shame? So, what does shame mean to you?
Oh, straight in.
Straight in,
I think
bang in.
nowadays I can't think of the word shame and not think of Brené Brown.
Yes, I love Brenny.
Um, so yeah, and for those who don't know, Brené Brown is a researcher in vulnerability and shame. So for me, it does it comes from a different place. I think when the word shame is brought up, I think the word if I'm feeling shamed or ashamed, then that's different. But the word in itself, shame, for me, is that kind of making yourself small, withdrawing, um, not being you or afraid to be you because you fear
Mm,
judgment or you're judging yourself. So I think that's what comes up for me at the moment with shame.
Hmm.
mm,
Yeah, I think that judgment is really key for me as well. Um, I was like, what exactly is shame for me? And I've just written down shame is the response to my own fear of what other people are going to think.
oh, I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So for me, it's my own fear of being judged by other people.
Mm,
And I would love to say that as I've got older, it's gone. You know, that you reach a certain age and it's like, oh, I don't care anymore. And it's definitely lessened, but it's not gone.
mm,
Um, yeah. So there is still, I still am conscious of what other people might think of me. And my head's like, don't worry about it. But my heart is like, oh, ow.
mm.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there, Holly. It is that actually, how am I going to be judged? How am I going to be perceived?
Yeah,
Mm.
it's almost on, and I'm with you both. It's almost on that sort of intrinsic level, isn't it? It's that judgment of self at the core that's so powerful with this. It's not, we can talk about shame in terms of right, I've dyed my hair this week. It looks a bit different, but we can change our hair back. But something that's not reversible, like what binds us is the community. We are just who we are, and that's our beauty. But people can judge that, and if they do, we can't change for them to make things better for them. We are as we are, and I think that's the real challenge for us as a community, isn't it? With shame, I can only speak from my own experience, but that's the way I see it for myself. Is that when I fear people's judgment, it's if they don't accept me for who I am, there's absolutely nothing I can do to make it better for them.
Mm.
Obviously, I have a choice if I stay in a relationship with that person or what my actions are, but I can't change things for them. And that's what's so potent and can be very toxic about this, isn't it? Is
Yeah.
um, that judgment at that core level.
Yeah.
And it's funny you was talking about Brené Brown and the things that we've talked about already because I'm a massive fan. And she says that shame needs three things to grow: secrecy, silence, and judgment.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think we've sort of alluded to all
Wow.
those things.
That sums
Yeah.
it up. It really does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, there's something quite deep that I don't know if I can articulate very well, but is something really raw about it because you have to be so vulnerable on coming out. And I think one of the things that I feel really, I guess, passionately about, but and this applies to any form of hate, but to be hated for something that is not something that I've done, but is for who I am
Mm,
physically. And then
mm,
that, I think that is what, yeah, I find really painful. You know, if I mess up or do something stupid, fair enough, have an opinion of that. But just to have an opinion of someone as a human being, just being who they are, I just find despicable.
yes.
Um, yeah, yeah, and feel quite feel quite strongly, obviously, about that.
Mm. Yeah, it's almost that like pedestaling, isn't it, of privilege. And
Mm,
that's often what it can feel like someone in a privileged position being able to judge. They have the power in the shame because they decide who is worthy and who's not worthy. That's what it can feel like.
mm,
A white cis man, for example, um, telling me what's okay, from a masculine perspective, for example, could be very triggering because that's through their privilege that they're looking through that. Or same as we look at it in terms of gender identity, someone who is cis saying, "Well, this doesn't make any sense to me." That's what we often hear, or
mm,
much much worse things than that. But speaking from that pure place of privilege, yeah, absolutely makes my blood boil.
mm.
But it's inextricably linked to shame, isn't it? Um, the idea of
Yeah.
yeah, privilege.
Yeah, and I think it's only recently that I saw it from that perspective of that privilege and how being in a minority group and it being not everyone, but some people will frown upon that. Um, and I think, like you said, Holly, because it's that who we are, and then to be judged because like you said, it's not a case of we can just change our hair and do something. It's this is who we are,
Mm,
and that I think when you then carry that shame, it kind of feels like there's something wrong with me,
Mm,
mm,
or am I so unlovable or unlikable to have this hatred?
yeah.
Sometimes it can be pure hatred
mm,
put upon you just for not for just being
mm.
you
Mm,
know
It
yeah.
yeah.
seems crazy, doesn't it? Because I cannot possibly understand what how that person can think like that or how they've come to think like that without questioning themselves. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, it does make the mind boggle and the blood boil.
Yeah. And yeah, and I think a lot of it's probably coming from places of fear. If we think about homophobia, transphobia,
Mm,
fear of difference, right? And I'm not excusing any of it, but if we think about the origins of it, I think a lot of it is coming from that place of fear. So education is so important, which is why it's very, very terrifying, obviously, what's going on in the US at the moment and what happened in the past in the UK with Section 28, but actually what's happening in the UK now as well. Um, yeah, it's a huge part. But it makes me think as well, maybe, I mean, not maybe, this is why we have closets, in the community. This is why we talk about closets, right? Coming out of a closet. Um, and as I'm speaking there, closet is a place to hang clothes. And it's just cut this image of just choosing what clothes I want to put on and walk outside with. That image just came up for me then. And that's how I used to feel like I'd have to put on my clothing, my armor to go out, pretend to be somebody every day.
mm,
And when I first came out, I it was almost like walking out naked because I put all of the clothes, I literally hung them all up and then I just walked out
Yeah.
there. That image just came up really strongly for me. Um, yeah, it's a funny old thing, the closet, isn't it? Closets are meant for clothes, not for people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think I would like to say, actually, shame isn't just for the
Mm.
LGBTQIA plus community. Shame is experienced by everyone.
Yeah.
Um, but I think this is probably an area that the LGBTQI plus will experience. I went on a course where they said, there is nobody on that spectrum that's not going to experience some form of trauma.
Mm,
And it is, you are the only one
mm,
in your knowledge, to hatred, to abuse, or just that kind of struggle. You may lose family and friends for it. But I don't want to make it all doom and gloom, because it's not always like that. There are some lovely, supportive people out there, who are fantastic as well. But it does not take a knock, and it does shape your perception. It does shape how you see the world, view the world, but importantly, how you view yourself. And like you say, if we're going into the closet and coming out in our mask to be that person that needs to show up that day just to be accepted.
mm, mm.
Uh, and I think, as you say, Holly, as you get older, it doesn't, well, it hasn't for me either, totally gone away. But there are elements more stronger that go, I'm just too tired to go into the closet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, I like me. I've done a lot of work, and gone through a whole journey of, not accepting, accepting, not accepting, whatever crap has come my way, and kind of dealt with it, and picked it, because I don't think, or no, I know, I never woke up and went, do you know what, I'm choosing to be gay, because this is a much harder life where I will
Mm,
experience rejection. It's not a choice. I
yeah.
choose it now because of the work and the family and friends that I have around me, but it's not something that, if back then I would have gone, yeah, this is what I want to be.
Yeah.
I'm going to choose this life where I can feel like I'm the only one, or have to go and hunt down like-minded people, and then they might not be like-minded when you get there.
Mm,
And so there's quite a journey that you go on to try and fit in. And then I think, for me personally, it's been quite nice that I've gone on a slightly different journey to go, actually, who am I?
mm.
Where do I want to be? Who do I want to show up as? And it comes back to
Mm.
that authenticity. Going, actually, when I'm me, I'm quite happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That pill, just that I remember being asked that ages and ages ago, sort of, if there was a pill that you take that makes you heterosexual, would you take it? And I think when I first came to terms with the fact I was gay, I definitely would have taken that pill because of the sheer trauma I went through
Mm.
in coming out. But now I would absolutely not take it. I'm very, very proud of who I am. And there's certain situations where, shame is still a challenge. But all the experiences that I've got and the way that I've grown and the connection that deep connection I have to myself is all thanks to that process. So I think
Mm.
putting that positive spin on it, there's a lot of positives that come from working through that shame
Yeah.
experience for all of
Mm.
us.
And I
Um,
totally agree with you, Max. I would not take that pill now. But
mm,
there
No.
might have been a time when I would have considered, or not, that would have felt like, oh, yeah, just give me a normal life. In terms of the kind of world that I was living in, that would have been normal, just to, go off, get a boyfriend, a husband, get married, have kids.
mm,
Um, and but yeah, I wouldn't choose it now.
mm. Coming up for you, Holly.
Um, what's coming up for me? I've been thinking about, yeah, I think it's quite a relevant topic to me, actually. Um, sorry, the reason I'm pausing is I'm trying not to get emotional. um, I think, as someone who is bisexual or pansexual, I feel like the shame there's I've realized I've quite a lot of shame around it. And the reason it's quite raw for me at the moment is because it's only really been in the last few years that I've sort of started dating men again. And I know we've had this conversation before, but there is very much been something for me. You know, I did come out as gay in my early 20s, and that took so much effort. And I found my tribe and I was sort of living my truth. And yeah, that did take a long time to be able to do that. So, and to feel belonging and feel accepted and have friends. Um, and then to kind of have to go almost back in the closet and
Mm.
was sort of more difficult than I think I've let myself allow myself to feel. Um, because it's almost like, oh, well, you can take the easy option, you can date guys as well. But I think there is something within me that I'm still working through that is scared, for want of a better word, that I won't be accepted by either community.
Mm. Mm.
So I won't feel completely at home. I won't find a man necessarily that will accept me or be able to cope with the fact that I'm bisexual. And I also very much have a queer identity and very much feel at home in that world. And that I wouldn't be necessarily accepted in that world if I, for example, did end up with a man. So
Mm.
yeah, and that's something that I am still, I think, sort of working through. Um, yeah, so that's kind of what is coming up for me at the moment. That
Yeah.
idea of shame, and I don't want to feel like I'm hiding any part of myself. But I think I also find the words that we use, and we've spoken before about, you know, the importance of labels because things do need to be named.
Mm.
The word bisexual and pansexual, I'm quite a private person, and I was thinking, why do I find these words so problematic? And I think it's because it's got the word sex in it. And I'm quite a private person. And
Mm.
I was thinking, why do I feel that so different? Because I'm not a prude as such. I used to be a burlesque dancer. So it's not like I'm a prude, but I feel like I'm quite a private person. To
Yeah.
be like, yeah, I like to have sex with these people feels so ick to me. I
Yeah.
don't want to say that to strangers. And I think I know you've got heterosexual and homosexual, but no one uses those words on a daily basis. It's
Yeah.
straight and so to be in the middle, it's like it's really sexualized. And for me, it's about love and who I fall in love with. So to
Mm.
putting these sexual sort of words on it, I find difficult, I think, as well. And I think it really sexualizes the experience.
Mm.
Uh, and that I feel can be really judged as well. In
Yeah.
so if I walked into a pub now and they were like, "Are you dating anyone?" or and having to maybe say the word bisexual in that would just feel, I don't know, it feels like I'm sort of opening myself up in a way that I don't want to,
Mm.
really. Does that make
It
sense?
it does, yeah. It's thank you for sharing that. I mean, it's so interesting to hear that because from my from my privilege of not being in the middle as the term that you used, I hadn't actually thought about that before, the sort of the sexual labeled on it. Um, but also that on a sort of society level, I hear it a lot from bisexual people, pansexual people, that there is this almost taboo and stigma still, both within the community and outside of the community. And in the community, it's like, well, just pick a side, or pick, are
Yeah.
you in or are you out? And then outside of the community as well, the sexualization, you know.
Mm.
Um, that's what I've heard. Obviously, it's not my lived experience, but that must be so challenging to navigate that.
Yeah, it's sort of, I just sort of feel like I'm in and out all the time. And yeah, it's a strange one. I say it's fairly, I'm still sort of navigating it, which is why I think it's quite raw for me to speak about.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and you also get, like you've mentioned, Max, like quite flippant comments. like, yeah, pick a side or who are you dating now? And, I've always joked and laughed it off and never really kind of gone deeper with it, but it's actually, it's trivialized
Mm.
and it's not trivial.
Yeah.
This is about who I fall in love with, and you're dismissing it as, oh, you just fancy everyone. And it's like, no, it's
Mm.
who I fall in love with, just like anyone else would. But it just happens that I fall in love with men and I fall in love with women. So, yeah, and I think it's only recently I've kind of trivialized it to myself, to be honest with you. Um,
Mm.
but I think doing this podcast and working with you guys, and that's relatively new in the past year. But I feel like this is really helping me, in a way, navigate it and really hold on to my queerness, even though, yeah, at the moment I'm not dating anyone. So, but if I was to start dating and it did happen to be a guy, then I'm still living my queerness and
Mm.
on a regular basis, which is really important to me.
I think what come up for me when you were talking about that was, again, with labels. I mean, I agree that labels help us to articulate certain things, but I think labels also puts us in boxes. And as human
Mm.
beings, I don't think we always necessarily fit into the boxes. And if you just go into a box, you can't grow in that box. You can only grow to that size. And actually, in an ever changing world, where simple things like biology, our taste buds will change. You
Yeah.
know, why won't who we fall in love with change along the way? Why do we need to put a label on and go, that's me for life?
Mm.
Mm,
Mm.
Why can't we have that fluidity of going, do you know what? Today, this is how I'm feeling.
mm,
Yeah. 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 So powerful, Rachel, because it's a construct of language, not a construct of identity at the end of the day,
mm,
right? And I remember the battle of trying to fit myself into the labels. And I'd come out of a heterosexual relationship, and I was like, I can't be gay because I've been in a heterosexual relationship for 3 years. Okay. So, but I'm not bi because I felt the attraction was very, very strong towards men. And so I was like, where do I sit? And then I heard about these other terms, heteroflex, homoflex, and you can be like right at the end of the spectrum near gay, but still have like, I don't know, a small part of you that has some pansexuality around women or something like that. And I was just like, this is that's nice to hear that there's other areas than just gay, bi. But at the same time, I almost got lost in trying to figure that out. And at the end of the day, it is just a construct of language. So if people are listening and they are on that journey like you are, right, Ollie, I think just remembering that these are just labels we chuck on things to help it make sense to other people. But the most
mm,
important thing is making it make sense for yourself. And
mm,
and that is your identity, is that at the end of the day, no one can take that away from you. No one can,
mm.
people can belittle it, but that is you at your core and leaning
Yeah.
into that.
Thank you, Max.
And I think, it's about finding people who will support you, not judge you. I
Mm,
Mm.
it's not you should change for anyone else. It's about finding the people that go, yeah, we love you for who you are.
Yeah,
mm.
the community.
Mm.
Powerful stuff, guys. I'm, I'm thinking of our listeners. I'm thinking of people who might be going through, some of this and experiencing shame, and what words of wisdom or advice that we might be able to give to them as a takeaway. I know that's
Mm,
a tough old question because shame is a nasty beast. Um,
mm.
something we may need to sit with. What could we give as a takeaway to our listeners here?
I don't know if it's Brené Brown who said it, and at the moment my brain's kind of gone, but it's just something about shame loses its power when it's spoken.
Mm.
Or actually,
Mm.
even this conversation, I come away feeling more proud of who I am.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think it is about finding that community, and it doesn't necessarily have to be LGBTQ community.
Mm,
there are other people out there who can be supportive as well. Um, because being heard, being seen, and not judged is so powerful because you can
Yeah.
just be. And then the shame subsides. And I'm not saying the shame is always going to go and you'll never have it. But I think if you can find ways that empower yourself, whether that's through friendships, through groups, through going to Pride, through watching I don't know, TV programs that kind of go, actually, this is fine, this is normal, this is okay to be, helps to bring your authentic self to the foreground and go, actually, no, this is me.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. Powerful. Thanks,
mm.
Rach. What about you, Holly?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, fantastic. I totally agree, Rachel. I think it's finding the right people, isn't it, to share with, and then gradually your confidence will build. Um, what I think I want to say is look after yourself, be kind to yourself.
Mm,
Um, I think this journey that we're all on can at times be exhausting and wonderful as well. But I think it's, yeah, look after yourself. If you are feeling a little bit wobbly or a little bit vulnerable, take some time to yourself and do something kind for yourself.
mm,
Do something that you love, like a walk. It could be anything, but a walk in nature or getting into bed early or just being kind to yourself. Because I think one of the things I've realized about shame is that it means that we can really drive ourselves to the bone and think we're always not good enough and you've got to work harder, do more. And sometimes it's not about doing more, it's about doing less
mm.
um, and being kind to yourself. And in that sense, the healing process, you're giving yourself time to heal. So any of that, the shame that is coming up, yeah, take yourself away, give yourself a little break from it from a bit and find your
Yeah.
people and speak to them at the right time. But yeah, that's what's coming up for me that I want to share to look after yourself.
I love that. Self-compassion, peace.
Mm,
So, so important in all of this. Um, what I wrote down is that antidote to shame is pride. And I think for me, it's all around ownership, first of all, and acceptance of who I am, and then that sense of pride in that. And at that point, because the fear is that someone can judge you at your core, right? But if you're accepting of yourself at your core, you're proud of that. It really dilutes the power of judgment of other people. And the analogy that came to me one day, I've spoken about this to a couple of people. Some people get the analogy, some people don't. That's absolutely fine. It's my own one, so maybe it doesn't make any sense, but I'll bring it out anyway. But it's like, when you go into cold water, I don't know if you guys have ever done cold water swimming, but you
yeah.
go down and it's like freezing and you just got to get under, but it take loads of time to get in because it's so cold. And then say one of your mates is in the water already, they splash you and it's freezing and it makes it so much harder to get in the water, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you just dive straight in and you immerse yourself in all the water and then you pop up, your friend can splash you all they like, but that's not going to cause you any harm. It's not going to cause you to shiver. It's not going to cause you to flinch because you've already bathed yourself in all that cold water. You're almost immune to shivering. And I see that as the analogy to sort of the shame, especially with the coming out stuff. Like our queerness people can use against us and have used against us in the past, certainly in school for me. But as soon as I owned that, and that was like the throwing of this cold water, but as soon as I owned that, it was like going under the water, coming out again. And now if people, splash me with that cold water, it's like, we don't accept you. The blows are less because I've already bathed myself in it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but for me, as a sort of metaphor, um, it's something that I often think about. These are just people splashing cold water. Great stuff. Well, we are yeah, I just want to check in with you both how you are feeling at the moment.
I'm feeling pretty good considering we've been talking about shame. um, but I think it's because I'm with you guys where I can just turn up, be me, and the shame kind of
Yeah.
leaves the door and goes out. So I'm feeling good.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, same actually. I wasn't sure how I would do today because of the nature of the topic, and I knew that it was quite raw for me. But again, it goes back to what we were saying earlier about it being spoken.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like I've done that today, and I actually feel, yeah, great. So yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
How about you, Max?
Yeah. Just celebrating that as acknowledging that, Holly, because that's a big thing for you to bring that to this space because you're not only having a conversation with us, but with our listeners as well. I just want
Thank
to,
you.
honor that because that's a big thing. Um, yeah, I love these conversations, and I feel like when we're together, our energy, we just bounce off each other. But again, I just reiterate, this is almost a microcosm, an example of the community. It's out there for everybody, right? And and part of getting that antidote to shame is joining these communities, as Rachel was saying. So this is possible for everybody. And yeah, I'm feeling much more pride, which is always nice to feel. Um,
Lovely.
so is this a good place to come to a close? Do you both feel?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so. Thank you.
Yeah.
sure we could bring loads more, but that's for another day.
Yeah.
Yes, as always. Yeah. Great. Well, thanks both for getting stuck into the topic and for sharing your stories and experiences. And if anyone listening to this resonates with the topic or anything we've shared, please do write to us. We'd love to hear from you. And if you'd like to get in contact, our website is the rainbowcoachingcollective.com, uh, rainbowcoachingcollective.com. Sorry. Or you can get in touch by email, and it's info@rainbowcoachingcollective.com. Um, and in our next podcast, we're going to be talking about LGBT plus History Month. So it should be an interesting episode. And until next time, take care, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.